With Audible, there's more to imagine when you listen. Whether you listen to stories, motivation, expert advice, any genre you love, you can be inspired to imagine new worlds, new possibilities, new ways of thinking. And Audible makes it easy to be inspired and entertained as a part of your everyday routine without needing to set aside extra time. As an Audible member, you choose one title a month to keep from their ever-growing catalog. Be inspired to explore your inner creativity with Viola Davis's memoir, Finding Me. Find what piques your imagination with Audible. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/imagine or text Imagine to 500-500. That's audible.com/imagine or text Imagine to 500-500.
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites, like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies, like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee for your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Hello, welcome. Let's chat. It's hard. You want to talk? I know, that's disappointing. Sit back. Let's work this out. How's it going? What are we doing here? Where are you going? Hey there. Wow. It's not always easy. It's amazing if you think about it. Let's think about this. Strange. I have some thoughts about that. Life is hard. Trauma bonded.
Welcome to Trauma Bonded. I'm Elly Westberg, here with Therese Garcia.
Hello.
And we're together in the same room.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Happy birthday, T.
Oh, thank you. Oh yeah, that's why you're here.
We've been partying like she's turning 30 this weekend. And we're probably going to die at the end. Today we're discussing episode 315 of the podcast. This is actually happening. What if you found forgiveness from behind the camera? Or what if your life became a movie? These are the current working titles that are under discussion and debate. And I'll do a little synopsis. GJ, that's our storyteller's name. Those are 2 initials, a G and a J, like Gilbert James.
Got it.
It took T a minute to catch on to what the hell we were talking about. GJ.
My name is GJ.
GJ.
Oh, look at you, GJ. That's messed up.
Don't talk about my GJ.
Sorry, that was weird.
GJ grows up in the wilds of LA with a hot mom who likes rock stars. When he's only 5, she marries a one-hit wonder half her age. This time is full of chaos, violence, and uncertainty. There's lots of sleeping rough from couch to van. He's kept out of school and often has to fend for himself. Frank, his new stepdad, eventually moves out to California, and the 3 attempt to make a new family. Frank is trying to come into new fame, and Cindy takes up drinking. There's much substance abuse and adult failings and seemingly zero concern for a child in the midst of it all. And it all sort of hits a low when Frank destroys his music studio in a rage, begs GJ to kill him with his crossbow. The police come, and it seems the relationship is over. However, it isn't. Mom rebuilds the studio, and GJ just doesn't understand why these people are the way they are. And he heads off to New York for college, thinking he's ridding himself of them forever. But college ends and his options are limited. He reluctantly moves back home. He decides, with a mean spirit and with malicious intent, to film Frank, to make a short of him, to showcase Frank's fall from once rock star to blubbering alcoholic. And weirdly, this leads to an opportunity to make a documentary of his parents and eventually direct a feature film based on the same story. Through this process, GJ starts to see their relationship and them as people, and less black and white, and more from their perspective, and this understanding begins to facilitate forgiveness and caring. So much internal familial therapy occurs in this unconventional way, and now they're truly a family. And full disclosure, I'm the showrunner for This Is Actually Happening, and T knows nothing about anything. She comes in fresh, and the show, Trauma/Bonded, is for the listeners, a space where we can talk about each episode digest it and reflect on it with empathy and also a bit of levity. That's trauma bonded. T, what stuck out to you as the heart of the story?
Yes, for this one, I went with one word for the heart. And I focused a bit on the changing of perspectives that DJ goes through when he is finally filming them and looking from a more objective point of view behind the camera. Anyway, I went with aperture.
I love that word.
You do?
It's fun to say.
It is.
Aperture.
I said it a little drunk.
Aperture.
I feel like it's like aperture.
Aperture.
But an aperture is like the amount of light that comes in, right? And you like adjust the lens or something, and I'm not a film enthusiast. This is what my understanding of aperture is.
Yeah.
And it's through this lens with him adjusting, I think, and bringing in more light to his experience that actually changes the way he sees it.
Yeah. The bigger the aperture, the more the understanding or something.
The more light, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Is that good?
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, thanks.
Wow. When did that hit you? She was so braggy today. She's like, I got my heart already. I feel like mine is not as cool as yours, but it's along the same lines.
Yeah. I'm sure it's really cool.
This idea that people in relationships are rarely actually black and white, and most of us live in the gray. And it's easy to write off things that we don't understand and have no perspective for, which is one reason why the internet is a dangerous place. There's so much nuance and understanding of people and especially relationships. And, he could have, if GJ's dream were true, or if his understanding of the world was correct, that college hands you a job at the end, he might not have ever got this special gift to be able to revisit these people that he kind of abandoned and assumed he was done with. He couldn't have got to revisit and actually get to know them and find out the depths of their love and intent. And it was them also trying to make a way in the world. And we'll talk about this. I think there's a lot to unpack with the idea of like this, having the stardom as a young guy that Frank does and forever be in searching of it again. That's just really devastating and heartbreaking on its own to think about. As I said, T and I are hanging out this weekend for her birthday, and the brilliant mind, Jason Blaylock, who edited this episode, was with us today, and he relayed a kind of an extra story that got cut from the episode, and he told T, and I didn't get to hear it. T, do you want to relay that story that Jason told you? Yeah,
some inside scoop, right? So he was talking about how they have hours and hours and hours of these interviews, and they have to cut it down to like an hour.
Like 3-hour interviews.
3 hours. Yeah. And they have to cut it down to an hour.
Sometimes 4 or 5, depends.
Yeah, and they have to cut it down to an hour. So there's like a lot of, stories there that they might think are really interesting, but don't make the cut. Because it doesn't go with
the story itself,
direction of the story as it's going. Basically, GJ and his dad, when he was little, they went on a fishing trip, and I'm forgetting, something triggered the dad, and I'm forgetting what. It enraged the dad, and they're out in the middle of nowhere on this fishing trip, and basically the dad chased him around this forest or whatever, and GJ ran into some store eventually and told the cashier that he was running away from this dude. And then his dad got into the store and was like, have you seen this kid? And he's totally pissed. And they're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So he left, but then they called the police.
GJ's crafty.
Yeah. Yeah. But so they weren't going to talk about the dad as much, I think.
Yeah, we get very little about the biological dad, but we do know that, his childhood was definitely full of turmoil and a lot of change and zero consistency. And that's something that we've talked about in the show, how important consistency is, for kids. He talks about so many dramatic things, like being put with his grandparents that he didn't know and kind of left there and nothing is explained to him. And then there's this pulling scene back and forth between his mother and his father, and he has to hit his dad in the nose, and then his mom has this fear of them being on the grid or something, and so he's in and out of school and doesn't have constant education, And then something else that we've talked about in the show before too is when he is in school, he does seem to excel at academics despite his tough time at home. And I feel like this is something that we're familiar with seeing. It's almost like when you do give a kid consistency and stability and care and focus, they are able to find success in academics. And I'm not saying that's 100%. Sometimes kids have such terrible home lives that they can't focus at school either. So, that's not like a recipe for success or anything, but at least it was a good place for him to be able to find some success in learning.
There was this part, during that time that he talked about how he can control his dreams.
Yeah.
What did you think about all that?
I kind of glossed over that.
I glossed over that. It's not
my bag, baby.
Yeah, it's like lucid dreaming, right? When you're able to.
I didn't really fully understand what he was talking about. Can you talk about it?
Well, it's just that to me, I interpret it as things were just so out of control, and he didn't have a consistent home life, consistent caregivers. Nothing was the same ever. That I think maybe he felt like he needed to control when he's sleeping or in his dreams.
Yeah.
But I find it fascinating, lucid dreaming, really being able to control that. And then he'd then he'd get out of his dreams by picking up a red crayon in the crayon box.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
That's all I had, really. But
I think it was interesting that he talks about how his grandparents saved him in physical ways, gave him a haircut, but they gave him a house and food and put him in school and gave him all of these concrete physical ways that a kid should be cared for, but they weren't able to give him emotional understanding that he also needed, which is something that he always felt loved by his mom. So I think the hope is that, or the feeling was that, hopefully he was getting both consistency and love at the same time during that period in his life, but he just wanted to be with his mom, and to have this just no idea why you're there and when it's going to end and who are these people. And they probably had weird doilies around the house, I imagine, and
it smelled
knickknacks
weird or something.
And they probably ate those weird block olives that you can put on your fingertips.
Blocks of cheese.
Yeah, like Velveeta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheese in quotes.
True.
But let's talk about Frank. He's a one-hit wonder.
Mm-hmm.
He's got superstardom, seemingly, at only 19 years old.
Yep.
And I looked up these people. They're good-looking kids, for that time. They definitely looked like of that era.
Yeah.
And we really do find out, and we'll plug the film more at the end, but, GJ talks about the documentary he made, and it's called Frank and Cindy, and it's on Netflix. We watched a bit of it today. And there's a lot of kind of candid moments with GJ filming Frank as an adult man now. Very talented, playing all kinds of instruments, singing. They play a lot of his recording and songs. So he was a talented guy. He fancied himself like a true artist. And I just think it's so devastating to think about how, you're on this trajectory of what you perceive to be like fame and stardom, and you're going to get to do what you love for a living, and everyone's interviewing you, and you're opening for Hall & Oates on
Oh,
tour.
wow.
Yeah. And then just
Nothing.
oblivion. Just nothing. And
Yeah.
what do you do with that?
I mean, people work for years and years and decades just to be discovered,
Yeah.
you know? And the fact that, like, straight away it happens for you,
Yeah.
you have quite a bit of hope that it will either continue or come back very soon.
And I think it's interesting too, like GJ has a bit of this in him as well, right?
Yeah.
He keeps thinking, oh, this is my big break. This is my big break. Oh, I'm going to get to,
Yeah.
oh, I'm making a feature documentary. Oh, I'm going to direct a feature film. Like finally, this is just occurring to me right now.
Yeah,
like
no, it's good.
He's
It's
got
good.
the same feelings. I mean, granted, they're probably at a bit different age brackets, you know, but he's got these same feelings that Frank went through. This is it. This is my break. This is where, you know, I'm going to be considered objectively worthy by everyone around me, the masses. I'm going to be considered a legitimate artist. Like it was all for this moment. And then that moment ends, and then you're like, what do you do? You know, I've tried a lot of my adult life to be a writer, and I've had like little blips of, I don't know, possibility. And I was published, I did a piece for NPR. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And that was back in like 2006. And I remember when I recorded that, it was like the, with a perspective, I'm Ellen Westberg.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can look it up, y'all, if you really want to listen to it.
Can you share what it was about real quick? Just to...
It was just talking about how I sort of escaped my upbringing, my Christian conservative upbringing, and moved to California, and I'm kind of reflecting on this like wildly diverse group of friends that I have around me, and I just can't believe that I sort of, you know, my life ended up in this trajectory, and it's wonderful. It's a positive thing. But anyways, I remember walking out of NPR after recording the piece, and I vividly remember walking down the street and thinking to myself, what if that's it? Like, what if that's my big moment? I've been published and I don't do anything else. And I really haven't.
That was it. It's like you knew. I thought you were going to say, I walked out of the building.
I'm so
I was like,
self-fulfilling prophecy, man.
Oh, I thought you were like, this is just the beginning. The possibilities are endless. But it's
no, I immediately
went.
went.
That was it. And that was it.
It was more like, oh God, what if that was it? No, I went. Yeah, dark right away. So anyways, I understand this, like him striving. And then, you know, I'm sure Cindy was supportive to a degree, but it sounds like really she was just hoping that if she kept supporting him, there would be this like windfall of money and fame and success and like kind of everything that you want from, you know, being a partner of a rock star. And, you know, of course, after this one-hit wonder and he marries Cindy and she's sending him money, he's really just fucking around and he's playing clubs and doing cocaine and she's sending him money. And it's all in the film, y'all, if you want to watch the documentary. What about that anecdote about Gilbert, his biological dad, when he talks about when he's living with him for this brief time? And he says he used to go out with this old man mask on.
Yeah, that's weird. What is that?
And he has these memories of him coming home blottoed and bloody and peeling off the old man mask. Like, what is...
Did he go to a lot of costume parties? I was so confused by that
he would
part.
just be... He's paranoid, drunk, and violent, and he'd just go out to bars in this old man mask. I mean, this is a perspective, 6, 7-year-old kid. Like, who knows what was really going on there?
I pictured it as I'm not a crook. For some reason, I thought it was like Nixon's mask or something.
Oh, like from Point Break?
Oh, my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I pictured
big nose.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still confused why you would ever do that. It seems disturbing for the kid. And for everybody else at the bar, just like, this guy's creepy.
Like, is that guy in a mask?
So weird.
It's really weird.
He's going up to ladies like, hey, ladies.
Like, was it part of his paranoia? Like, trying to hide his identity?
Maybe.
We'll never know.
Your face or your eyes are
just little slits.
I don't know. I don't know why.
So he finally gets back with his mom, but she seems to have her own paranoia about like paying her taxes and like letting the government know her age and where her kid is at any time. It's just crazy what people get away with. And they're running scams and living rough and
conning people.
Yeah, conning
Pat, the postman.
The terrible, the humble postman, bilking.
Why are you going for the
bilking
postman?
his civil
It's
servant?
already sad.
I know.
It's probably...
And finally Frank moves in with him, and what does his mom buy for him? Music studio.
Yeah.
Let's get that career going again, right? Again, very sad, very hopeful, but very sad in retrospect, and just really hanging on to this past success. What did you think about when he was describing what his mom was like when she was drunk?
Oh God, it sounded like a nightmare. It's like, oh, don't talk to me like that. I hate you. Like, just like her voice would change. And like, yeah, it's just like, oh my God, it's like weird.
It's not funny, but it is.
Kind of.
And I love this description of GJ of himself when he was a kid. That he was this like perceived as the psycho kid, but he was like really smart and really violent.
Yeah,
it's quite a mixture.
More on the defense, right? I mean, he wasn't trying to start it, but he could do it.
Well, and his mom probably taught him like, no one gets away with anything with you. Like you always have the upper hand. So he wasn't gonna let any of these kids.
I love it though because he's not getting in trouble with the authorities.
Because he's smart enough to be smart enough.
Yeah,
it's great. And he talks about how he, even in junior high, he's still drinking the Kool-Aid. Like he thinks that his mom's going to turn it around. Mm-hmm. He has this hope in her. He thinks that she's going to come to her senses and it's all going to be okay. And then I think a couple big things happen, obviously. You know, to turn 15, to have your own room, your own space, and to be able to like have a job after school, whatever, you can really start to develop your own personal independent life away from your house, away from your parents. I think this was really kind of saving grace for him. But then this big fight happens. I just like blew through the childhood. Did you want to talk anything else? Childhood-ish?
Well, there's just the lawsuit that they're trying to do with Frank hurting his hand.
Yeah. It's getting in the weeds to me.
It's getting in the weeds. Okay, let's not do that.
I mean, it's part of this. I mean, the listeners that are listening to us know that happened.
Yeah.
Y'all know that she uses his injuries to get more money out of this
it's genius,
workers' comp lawsuit or whatever.
It's genius.
And the big punchline there is that he destroys his own studio. And then what happens, T?
And then GJ...
I mean, after all is said and done, instead of leaving this guy, what does she do?
After having, said, I'm leaving this dude, it's over.
Yeah.
And GJ's so happy.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, this is awesome. Now we can,
get more money. And then we're going to spend it on...
And get another studio. Makes perfect sense. Well, because it's all broken down now.
Yeah, he destroyed it.
Yeah.
I also love this image that, I mean, this is like a little glimpse into GJ that I imagine one of his first paychecks that he gets. He goes out and buys this crossbow.
Oh my God, I was like, why does he have a crossbow? Those things are scary.
Yeah. We need to talk about Kevin. Ooh.
But he never uses it.
So GJ thinks this is the end. We're gonna have a new beginning. Out, Frank. Nope.
JKLOL.
Fooled you.
We're getting a brand new studio.
And this is the point that GJ is like, I don't get these people.
Done.
I do not get them at all. And again, they are clinging to this idea of impending superstardom. If we get the studio, we get superstardom. If we don't get the studio, you know what happens if we don't get the studio, T? That hope.
That's failure.
That lie that they've been telling themselves, that hope that helps them like get up and live another day, all of that goes away. And they cannot face reality. They cannot. So the only way to perpetuate that fantasy is to get another studio.
Right.
It makes total sense.
Yeah, but I mean, even GJ says, though, like, and he still doesn't know, was it because they thought they would actually, that he would get back to that superstardom, or were they just like drunk and like
making bad decisions?
It's strange to me too, because it didn't align with, like, didn't he say in the beginning, like, she wouldn't let herself ever be like controlled by a dude, didn't like authority, like,
yeah.
And for some reason she clings on to this guy.
She takes care of him. She sends him money.
Yeah.
He cheats on her. She stays with him. He wrecks the studio. She buys him another one. I mean, it sounds like to me that's all being controlled by a man. But see, I don't think it is. It
doesn't look like that when you watch
it's being controlled by this idea that you can be a success.
Future of fame and fortune.
And if she grew up in LA, I think that's even more predominant in that culture there. It's something that everything's pointing toward and everyone is interested in having. It's so pervasive.
Yeah.
So GJ goes to college as far away as possible, complete other coast. He goes to Bard.
But I also had this idea, like at the end when I would graduate.
I think we all kind of did.
Like, okay, cool.
Now what?
Looking around, like, who wants this? You know?
So I got
just
this degree.
And a dumbass by that point. Like, I had no skills. I feel like no experience.
Oh, I had no idea. I was like, I guess I'll go get a job in politics now.
Yeah.
With my poli-sci degree.
Yeah. And then I ended up working at the Cheesecake Factory.
I went into insurance. So he has to go back home.
At the Cheesecake Factory for 4 years.
I was in insurance for almost 20. I was 19 years, so fuck off with your 4. At least you met Jessica Simpson.
And Nick Lachey.
And the
guy, the lead from Incubus.
Oh shit. Isn't he deceased?
Oh, he's so young.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking the wrong lead singer. So many are gone. So he makes this mean-spirited short of Frank.
It's like, F you, Frank. I'm going to film you and embarrass you and ruin everything.
Yeah, it's just fodder for him to laugh at. As he characterizes it at the end, he says he lived to making these fun stories out of horrible events.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is also something that we all do when we're dealing with trauma sometimes too. Mm-hmm. We try, it's like this whole idea of laugh or die. Like, the only way to get through something sometimes is to laugh at it. But he admits that this was mean-spirited. It was out of malicious intent. And he gets asked to make this feature documentary, and it forces them all to spend time together. And I really love how he presents this to Mom and Frank. And Mom was like, yes, any chance to spend time together we're taking. And Frank kind of like protests, and she's like, no, you owe him. This. You owe him. I spent his college money on 2 studios for you, and we're doing it. And they all hang out. Mm-hmm. They all hang out for a year, and he gets to ask them all of these questions about their motivations, about why and the what for and the behind the scenes. He get everything maybe you've ever wanted to know about your own upbringing. He gets to ask these questions, and and all of these mysteries and all of these confusing things like all get revealed to him. What an amazing gift to get.
I feel like we all grow up with these mysteries that we don't ever get answered.
Never.
And for sure, if I were filming my parents, they would not be as transparent about it at all. But they just like ramble on. Well,
you do get the feeling that they're doing this out of love for him.
They trust him.
they trust him, and he's saying to them, I need you guys to be, it's like how we do on This Is Actually Happening podcast. We're asking people to be as open and transparent and vulnerable as they can be, because without those elements, we're not going to be able to tell a story that people can relate to. And they do this for him. Mm-hmm. This is like an act of true love, to put yourself out there like that for him, having no idea what he's doing or where it's going. They don't know.
And in the doc, like, Frank asks, why are you doing this? What's this for?
Yeah.
They're like, all right, well,
okay.
I don't know. Let's keep going.
You're doing it. And a couple things start to transform GJ that he talks about. One, he's like, he he confirms that his mom actually really is sober. So it's not just like her telling him, like he bears witness to this, like, mm-hmm. right, she's really actually sober. And this, I think, starts to turn his thinking. But he's also really touched by his mom's regret and her lament over realizing that she sort of failed and that he grew up so fast and she didn't get to be this mom that she wanted to be. And that's meaningful to him. How many parents can have that kind of perspective and be able to indict themselves like that? Mm-hmm. Like, that's super vulnerable to be able to say that. And then he also gets this account from Frank of him trashing his own studio. And that's when you get the deep hurt and worry and just devastation that Frank feels that he's never going to get that success back. And again, GJ feels this himself in his own life. So of course he can start to relate to this man, like, in other ways. And this other thing that happens that Frank said, he asked Frank, what's your crowning achievement? And he thinks he's going to say it was Whirly Girl or whatever. Yeah. What does he say?
Being his
dad, being in their family.
Yeah.
What a sweet guy.
Yeah.
And, like, I guess you wouldn't know this about a guy unless you ask him. And who would think to ask something like that? Who would think to give that answer? I don't know. It's just really
that
beautiful.
Was very sweet. And the love that he has for his mom, too. For Cindy.
Yeah. She's a saint when it comes to Frank. Seriously, you guys, like, this stuff really gets fleshed out well in the documentary if you want more of their relationship, which they are really fucking hilarious on screen.
They really are. Great timing.
Really good comedic timing. So GJ, it's the closeness and time and observation. It helps him to let go of this resentment, and he starts to understand how they fit and how they function together. And he calls this, like, this weird sort of internal familial therapy that happens just by opening up the aperture and letting in the light.
Mm-hmm. For real.
And it leads, he sees it, he can see it from their perspective, and that's when the forgiveness starts to come in, and he starts caring about them as people.
Not only do you get to solve some of these mysteries from his childhood, he's also able to heal from the traumas of his childhood through this process, which, again, you don't usually get to do that with the people who harmed you.
Truly. Yeah, he gets actual perspective. Yeah. Oh, when you were beating up your studio and asked me to kill you with my crossbow, that really fucked me up. Why did you do that? To actually get those answers instead of just speaking to a therapist and going, and he did this, and he's going, well, just gonna have to let it go, or however.
Or, like, how did that make you feel?
However they do it, yeah.
Yeah, whatever they do with it.
He gets to actually hear the story from Frank's perspective, and he gets to have some grace for the guy.
Even being, if you're saying, like, why do you think he did that? You know, and you might have a guess, or you might even guess that that's why he did it, but you don't get confirmation. And then it comes with, like, regret and apologies from the actual person. I mean, what a gift.
Truly. I think so too. So Cindy eventually gets a job in the biz, and this also starts to, like, get inroads to GJ to get to direct a feature. This is the ultimate dream of any kid in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Get to direct. And act alongside the great shouldered man, Harrison Ford.
Oh. Wait.
Did I jump too far?
Wait, what do you mean? He was in it?
No, he was on set with Harrison Ford. That's how they had this conversation.
Oh.
He was talking about how he had a small role. Remember he talks about being like Harrison Ford's like lab assistant in a movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser was in it.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser, yeah.
What was the movie called? Did you write that down?
No.
Oh.
Was it on there?
He said it, yeah.
Oh, he did?
Oh, brother. We should look up G.J. Echternkamp. Do you know how to spell his last name?
Wait, G.J.
E-C-H-T... Wait, wait, what is that?
Okay,
I got it.
Do a guess.
E-C-H-T-E-R-N. Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay.
Oh, he's cute.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, was it Virtually Heroes? Was that the movie?
Virtually Heroes. Director.
No, what movie was he in? Oh, look at actor. Oh, Extraordinary Measures. That was the movie. Oh, we should watch this. Where is it available?
Oh, yeah,
Brendan Fraser and Harrison Ford, just like you said.
Balls to the wall. Balls to the wall.
Oh, I'll have to watch that. Any whatsy whoosy. How cool would it be to have Harrison Ford watch your family's documentary, a documentary you made, and then say,
it's an hour, 42
your parents are
minutes.
Balls to the walls, kid. And then, of course, we had some speculation on once people wanted to make this doc into a feature film with Rene Russo, who is James and who is Danny that's directing. So finally we get to this point where Rene basically pushes for GJ to direct this film.
Oh, Rene Russo does?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Did you listen to that? Jesus. And I loved like thinking of him as a director, like sitting behind a monitor with like whatever he said, like he had a shirt over his head or something.
Oh yeah.
Because you can imagine what the monitor looks like. So you could get away with really covering up because you could put on that you're just like really trying to study the frame, but really he's trying to hide that he's crying.
Yeah.
And he talks about, a couple scenes that were emotional for him, but the one that really broke him was this scene where the food gets slid under the door to him. And he talks about it's viewing this intent of being a mom, but falling short at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're trying, but you're just not pulling it off. And you're giving so little, but still wanting to be a mom. And it is devastatingly sad to think about. But he also says that he always felt loved despite this dysfunction, which I think is hugely important.
Again, how crazy is it? Not only do you get to talk to them about it, do the documentary, you're kind of in it, but now you've got the feature film, you're directing it, you're watching it in front of your eyes, it happening accurately to how you remember it.
And you really lived it. So you're directing the people how it like actually went.
And you get to watch you watch
you react to your parents.
Like really good actors, probably.
Rene Russo is your mom.
Yeah. And you're just
this is also your mom.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And you get to empathize with yourself as you're watching yourself. It's healing.
It is surreal.
It's surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. I mean, how amazing would that be if like we could just play a movie of our lives.
Yeah.
And see it as it was and watch it as it was and see it like, the truth of it from a different perspective, from an outside perspective.
But it's also your perspective as an adult.
Your perspective, but then also
adult filmmaker and creator.
It's, I mean, of course, that'd be amazing too.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Yeah, it's wild.
We try to direct stuff.
And someone else pays for it.
Yeah.
You're not shelling out $2,200 to make a 12-minute episode, and have to order lunch on your own
I know.
because someone couldn't pull it off. Anywhoozy,
It got an 86 on Rotten Tomatoes.
that's pretty good. That's actually really good. Yeah, we're gonna have to watch that. Yeah. So what are the end takeaways here that he mentions? He says that his mom tells a sad story. What am I worth, Mommy? He's neglected, he's bounced around. And it does lead to him needing this need to prove that he's worth something. He needs validation. And that's what being a healed person looks like to him, that he feels worthwhile, he feels enough, and he feels like he matters.
And now he just has like a normal life. He has to just be okay with it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a dream.
It's pretty good. And he talks about how he kind of had to get used to not living in the chaos or not living wondering when's the next moment I have to get my crossbow out,
Yeah.
So it does sound like he has made peace, like he says, he's made peace with living in peace.
He's not trying to make chaos, which is nice.
Yeah. He sounds like a really fucking lovely person.
Yeah.
And I really am glad that we got to share this story on This Is Actually Happening. I feel like it's a unique one, and it's not the type of story that we usually get to tell.
It's a feel-good story.
It really is.
Yeah.
Feel-good story of the spring. This has been an episode of Trauma Bonded. You can find our show where podcasts are kept. If you like us, please rate and review us on Apple or other places. Rate us 5 stars and write, like it, love it, want some more of it. That's it. Takes seconds. Thanks to GJ for sharing their story and giving us the opportunity to talk about it. You can watch his documentary, Frank and Cindy, on Netflix, y'all. One reviewer named Harrison Ford calls it balls to the wall.
Balls to the wall.
Thanks to the This Is Actually Happening team, including Whit, Missildine, and Andrew Waits, and the maker of our music and website, Nathaniel Tromboli, and thanks to Forrest, Chiras, beautiful man that he is, for editing this episode, and to Katie Capel. Love you, Katie, for building those blasted Instagram posts. You can contact us at traumabondedpod@gmail.com and find us on Instagram at traumabondedpodofficial or visit our website at traumabondedpod.com. And I'm working on getting a YouTube presence, which I said last week, but, weeks go by fast, you guys. We are trauma bonded to the story, to the storyteller, to the listeners, and to each other. Thanks for spending time with us today. Love you, T.
Love you, Elly.